What we have on display is a lot of plaques and awards that Jerry got, plus some remembrances and things, but Larry will take you a quick tour of that and then we'll get started. And I hope that everyone here just takes a look at all the plaques, and that's only a partial what we could grab.
Winding the cord. Now he has to take it back.
So how does Larry get shown now? You're gonna pick the picture?
All right, I'm pointing at the tables now.
I'm gonna mute my audio, so the audio is gonna come from his phone right now. I just turned the audio back on, so try it again.
Okay. All right, so I'll assume unless somebody opens their mic and says that they're not here, we'll assume that it is. Okay, so you know what, I'm not even sure what the date was that Jerry passed away, but you all know that Jerry for the last 2.5 years had mostly been hospitalized or in rehab, and they listed the cause of death as a heart attack, but that's because that's what was convenient, most likely it was a stroke. Unfortunately, he was by himself. My thinking is he passed away on Saturday night, but we didn't know it until Monday evening when he didn't sign in any nets, because that's not something that Jerry would have ever done. As long as he was alive and well, he was going to sign in. So when that happened, we knew that there was a problem. Anyway, it was a very fast kind of a situation. Lee came up from Florida. There was a lot of things to be done Jerry's attitude was always when he passed away, we're gonna give somebody else a problem. It wasn't gonna be his problem. So we had a lot of things to do, plus Jerry was cremated. There was no opportunity to really have any kind of, a memorial for him. So we chose to use this evening. And ran into a snag, of course, because many of our people who would have been at this meeting are on their way to Dayton. Now, some of them may have signed in, some of them may sign in a little while, but basically, they would have been here. I think we have 20, 25 people in that, which is fine. It's quite a few people, I guess, signed in online. Anyway, so I thought we would start with Kenny Gunther, who grew up with Jerry, to tell us what it was like. Kenny? Want me to scroll your video while we're doing this?
Do you want me, I'll do the video, or it's up to you, whatever you want.
Kenny, you just want to hold this, and you want to make sure that we're speaking into that mic also, loud and clear.
Okay, I am Ken, WB2KWC. I've been friends with Jerry for many years, probably since the 1960s, which is 60 years. We first met through ham radio, Flatbush Radio Club, W2 Romeo Alpha Kilo. We operated mostly in the VHF and UHF contests as W2RAK. There were a bunch of us, WB2UIX, WN2UUW, WB2CUP, WB2CUW, Jerry's brother, WA2MQO, WB2MQI, WB2POK, WB2BAY, W2DIU, and of course myself, WB2KWC. And we usually operated from Fred UIX QTH because he had a tower. We were mostly on the 220 and 440 megahertz phone bands. If you want to know how it did, look for W2RAK on any of the VHF or UHF contests in the 1960s. Jerry was always there for LIMARC. We have lost a helper with the passing of Jerry. Let's hope that some of you will pick up the slack. While working for LIMARC, there isn't anything that Jerry will not do. His last job was treasurer, which involved looking after the club's funds and making sure that we have the proper cash to open the Hamfests. He was also Richie's chauffeur. When Richie couldn't find somebody, it was Jerry that drove him. Jerry loved sales. He would buy stuff at Hamfests, even though he had the same item at home. There isn't much that Jerry would not do. Hey, Jerry, got an extra Hamfest flyer? Jerry would have at least 5 in his glove compartment. We will miss Jerry. There isn't much that he wouldn't do for LIMARC.
And that little chart that I gave you, the thing, that's the kind of thing, it happened to be in a promotional product from another company, but it's the kind of thing that Jerry would have picked up, put in his pocket, and said, I'll find a use for it at some point, and then maybe did or maybe didn't, probably in his pocket when he passed away. But
I'm gonna try not to repeat some of the stuff he said, and maybe I will. I knew Jerry probably close to 40-something years, ever since I got involved with volunteering in us. And that's how I met him. Him and his brother were involved with starting with North Sea Volunteer Ambulance and working with Flatlands Volunteer Ambulance. Before the fire department, before EMS was around, and the different communities needed ambulance service, it would take 45 minutes an hour, 2 hours to get an ambulance. The volunteers became a staple in New York City. Okay. whether he was setting up communications for a Friday night tour, or working on something that he brought his amateur radio knowledge into the ambulance corps. And usually 4 to 8 shifts, reliable, technical, and always ready to help. That was Jerry. He's been with the club longer than I was. I used to see him all the time at the Ham Fest. When I came back to the club, when I came to the club, he was inviting. We sat at that table. We sat at the table from the beginning. Had a good time. And like you said, he loved shopping. We used to make the trip before we came here, almost every meeting to eat. And if he didn't walk out of the store with something, there was something wrong. Jerry would help the club and the Silent Keys, help raise quite a bit of money for the families. And he always was looking out for everyone else. If something was needed, Jerry was there, whether it was field day, doing the Ham Fest, any of that stuff. He loved going to Dayton, he loved going to Orlando. He also was very proud of his work with the fairies. He released some of the photographs, let's play the video again. It was from New York City as well as Nassau County areas. So, but Jerry wanted us to keep going. Show up for the next field day, volunteer, fill in the gaps where Jerry's the type of person, when you realize he's not here, you're gonna need 10 people to replace him. Okay? Let's keep the frequencies clear for Jerry and let's think about it.
Okay, we have one of Jerry's friends coming in by Zoom, David Parker. David, can you unmute yourself to speak? David? You see him up there or we don't?
He's up here. I did nothing. I'm gonna look in. Which is.
David, can you unmute yourself?
Did you call me?
Yes, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about Jerry.
Okay, thanks. I'm Dave Parker, KB2USM in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And yeah, I think I met Jerry at the Barra Fest in around I don't know, around 2015, I think, maybe earlier. And he offered to give me a lift back home because I had taken public transit to get out there. I don't know how in the world I got out there, but I don't really drive. So I met him and he took me back to my place. And then for the next couple of years, for about 10 years roughly, he took me to Hamfests every spring, summer, and fall. He's a great guy. You know, we went up to, I think it was called Foxborough in Massachusetts a couple of times, stayed in the hotel there. And then we did twice, we went to Timonium down around Baltimore. He did that twice. So it's a great loss to the ham radio community. He was a great friend. He also came to my place once to help me with my old computer. You know, he was a genius when it came to computers. So I just want to say hi to everyone and thank you, Richie, for letting me say a few words. And I met Lee. I don't know if Lee remembers me. The one time I was at the Dayton Ham Fest, I bumped into you and Jerry, and which was quite nice. So anyway, all right. I didn't have a lot to say, but it's just, you know, I'll really miss Jerry, and as will everyone else. That's why we're here. Thanks now.
Thanks, David. Not me, that you bumped into a date, never been there. So my twin or something. We have Jerry's brother still up there. Lee, you want to go ahead and speak on yourself?
Yes, I'm still here. You copy me?
Yes.
Okay, everyone said everything that I was going to say, but I'll give you a little background. I guess I know Jerry the longest of all of you. He was always 4 years older than me, and I never could catch up to his age. He had two families. His biological family, which was me, his only brother and mother and father. His second family was LIMARC. Everybody. Anytime he came over to our house or took his computer, it would be LIMARC, LIMARC. He would say, hey, there's 3 cents missing on the treasury report. Let's find it. He'll be up all night to find those 3 cents. And he found it where there was a mistake. He was very conscientious about that. Now I'm going to start at the beginning first off. How did Joe get into ham radio? Well, we started first with Citizen Band Radio. I was instrumental in that, and an old arcade Citizen Band Radio. And our call sign was KMD 4047, and we called ourselves the Brooklyn Bomber because we had a Sonar Model G, a Courier 1M with a D104 microphone, and a little bit afterburner after that with a 3-element beam. So that started the radio interest in both of us. We went to our family in California, and my mother's brother worked for RCA Company, and he built his own homebrew ham radio, and that's what we did years ago. And we had a Gonset 2-meter AM radio. We went out on our first bunny hunt, and that was we made our own antennas to find the needed, and that's what sparked everything in ham radio. When we got back, my brother got his ham license first. A few years later, Ken WB2KWC tested me. I was great in electronics, needed a lot of work in the code, and I remember him giving me my first code test over a touch-tone telephone. And I finally was able to get 5 words a minute and got my license. From then on, we went to portable equipment. We had a Motorola P34, which was one of these battery 2-meter units we always would sign on to Greenbrook 3494. We both then bought Drake TR22s, I believe. Then he converted to low band, had Swan converters and stuff. In his cars, we always had Motorola because I always worked for a Motorola Center. So he was one of the first ones that had the Motorola Motrack, and we had something called a GLB synthesizer, so we could tune up on any frequency he wanted. When it came to my working with radio telephones, he was one of the first ones beside me that had radio common carrier mobile telephone in his car. After that, he had an MTS phone, which is mobile telephone service, and then IMTS. He was always ahead of us in getting into communications. I was surprised that he had 2 very good friends also, which was Robin, that always worked with him and went out of his way. Let's see what else we have in this thing. I thought I was going to keep it short. We would always go out to Dayton, Ohio. I remember we took the bus one year and we got stuck going out there. But we always would meet in Orlando, and he would buy everything. Now, one thing about my brother, we went to the mall, and I said, Gerald, I need $2 to buy a cup of coffee. He said, no. But on that same day, Gerald, let's buy this radio. Here's the money, we'll buy 2 of them. He was very funny. He said, if something is small that you buy, it's not worth it. I'm not giving you the money. But if it's something big, you needed it, here's the money. He was very, very generous when it comes to all that. There's not much more I could say. He did wish that all his electronic stuff we donated to LIMARC, and I believe I completed that. I believe there's still more stuff in his house, which anyone is welcome to go there, whatever plugs in or whatever you're welcome to have before it gets all thrown out. I know a lot of this stuff was taken already, and I hope some other hams in LIMARC will find good use for it. You know, and whatever you get for it goes to LIMARC. I don't want to see a penny of that. You know, that's what his last wishes were, and I will honor that. As you know, he also had other hobbies. He also was a very, very big stamp collector, United States, United Nations, foreigns, and all that. And he had HO trains. He was one of the few people that will have trains and the computer would control all of its trains until he got all the garbage on it. He lost interest in that. Anyone who needs a train board, I believe, is still at the house. And not much more. I thank everybody for the work you've done, the presentation and everything. I think you went out of your way. You know, he will be missed a lot by me, you know, and that's all I have to say. Thank you for letting me this time.
All right, thank you, Lee. Is there anyone else on Zoom that would like to say something? You can just unmic and let's see who comes up if you want to start speaking. Anyone on Zoom? Before I monopolize the conversation. Anybody in the room that would like to say anything? Okay, so you all have raffle tickets.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like.
I don't got one.
I don't have a route.
I don't got one.
Hold on, hold on.
Okay, we want everyone to have a raffle ticket.
You just got your route.
We'll do the video game after this.
Apparently, I forgot my hearing aids, but also the piece of paper that had my notes on it. And let me tell you about Marty and Paul with Jerry. Jerry was profoundly deaf in his right ear.
What?
I have a great sense of direction. We'd be driving. Jerry, we have to make a left turn at the next corner. Jerry, we have to make a left turn at the next corner. Jerry, we have to make a turn at the left turn at the next corner. And if you look at me and, why are you yelling at me?
Okay.
And I said, Jerry, you need a turn here. And he said, why? I've been living this way for 70 years. What difference would it make? Okay, so everyone has,
I think everybody have a ticket? Make
okay,
sure.
so
Alright.
these are things with explanation after they're done. So Larry, pick a ticket.
Okay.
You have to. You're going to go on
All
that.
right, okay. All right, here we go. Ticket number 630-4076.
We have a winner.
Pass that over.
Winner is dinner.
You're going to walk.
Hold on. Make sure you verify it's the right thing.
No, we trust you.
Read the way.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't see what it is.
Another one? Okay.
We're doing 4 of these for that explanation.
I've been told to read only the last 2 digits. Make it 3. That's 3 digits.
All right, I'm gonna get the last three. Here we go. 077. 077.
What? Look at that. That's funny.
That worked.
Okay. One more? 2 more.
Got 2 more?
Yeah, well,
All right, well, here we go. Here.
What are these things you're holding in your hand? I can't see.
we'll talk about that in a minute, later.
Oh, okay.
080.
080.
080.
Lou.
You can't.
I mean, you can have play.
You know, in Vegas, you get scrutiny at this point.
Okay, and one more?
068.
Winner.
Okay, so what you have here is a battery checkup. So why are there 4 of them? Well, we go out shopping and Jerry said, I don't know where I left mine. He picked one up. The next night he called me back and said, I don't know where I put that thing down. Next time we go to the store, we gotta get another one. Get another one. A couple of days later, he put it down in the house, I have no idea where it is. And that's how he ultimately ended up with 4 of the same thing. So, to say Jerry was a hoarder, but one thing about Jerry, it could have been well organized. He had a organized hoarder. I mean, that's the only way. Had he taken the time to put things on shelves, it really would work out. Anyway, one more drawing, Larry. And the reason why this one is significant on one, it's something that's marked to fix your cell phone. Now, how are you going to fix your cell phone with all those tools? I have no idea. But it's something that Jerry would have looked at and said, you know what, I could really use that.
Right here. 064.
064. Gotta be here.
Check yours.
064.
I never think of that, you know, it's just.
You had yours just before I got.
You're right, you're right. Oh, I put it in my mouth.
Yes.
That valuable. 64.
So,
Want to do the video? Video again?
your video game?
Can we do
Wait, hold on a second. So, the thing about that is, that after he picked that up, after he took it home, he probably called me and say, I had one in the house. And it would go and sit in the drawer, and that's what happened when we cleaned that house, a lot of brand new stuff sitting in the drawers. So, Martin's going to put on his video again for a moment. What is that, it's about 4 minutes in the video?
Yeah, about 4 minutes.
And then I'll finish up with, talking about Jerry.
Okay, here we go.
What I was thinking. Okay.
Any music to it? It worked once, then it didn't. No, it didn't work again.
All right, thank you, Martin. So I have to say that it's much more emotional for me than I ever thought it would be, but for the last 20 years or so, number one, I would say I was closer to Jerry, or spent more time with Jerry than probably anyone else. And I'm not sure exactly when it started, but most likely I needed to ride somewhere. And Jerry said he would take me. And that became 20 years of Jerry driving around, the president of the Long Island Mobile Amateur Radio Club, who doesn't drive a car. So there was nothing that Jerry wouldn't do for LIMARC, and nothing that he wouldn't do for anyone. I know we drove friends upstate, we drive. Anyone that needed help, Jerry would be there. As far as his work with LIMARC and other organizations, you can see that out on the table. I'm not exactly sure how we got along as well as we did, because we're probably two of the most stubborn people in the world. And sometimes our arguments, I think some people participate in them, sometimes they were just crazy. So I would put together an antenna, but I can't read the instructions. So Jerry would read the instructions to me. And I'd say, where is that piece? And he'd go, I don't know. Well, Jerry, go reading the instructions. I know that the instructions aren't good. But Jerry, you gotta help me do it. Well, just put it anywhere. So that's something like that with my antenna. So when you have someone that's as giving as Jerry was, it's hard not to be abusive. So let me be honest and say I was abusive, you know. I couldn't help it. But I get a call from family and they would say they were trying to liquidate an estate, or, you know, someone had passed away or whatever. And they'd say, could you come out to wherever it was, Staten Island, Queens, pretty far out, well, maybe St. James, maybe even a little further. And I said, sure, we'll be there. And then I pick up the phone, Jerry, we're going out to St. James. Well, Jerry, we're going to Staten Island. He never refused doing that. But there was a time when my wife had cancer and she had to go for chemo on a regular basis. And there were local friends and sometimes family, but then there were times when there was nobody to be able to take her. And so I would call Jerry, and Jerry would come out and take her for chemo. And there were other times when she was hospitalized for one reason or another, and it was a crazy hour. My kids were working, or they had seen her during the day, but Jerry would come out and take me to visit her in the hospital. I estimate that I probably saw Jerry 35 times a year, at least. Multiply that by 20 years. That's roughly 700 times. It's probably 500 lunches, 500 dinners. He never paid for my dinner. But I was, well, I wouldn't say I always, he always paid for his dinners, but I would always treat him to lunch because he was doing, you know, so much for me. Jerry was very funny in a lot of ways. If you ask Jerry a question, or if you ask Jerry to do something, his first reaction was always no. And it never made any sense, except that I don't think he was hearing properly. And so whatever he was hearing, he was going to say no. But once he got involved in something, he really wanted to contribute to that organization. So in LIMARC, for example, he started out as the treasurer and then the membership chairman. But when we needed him, he took on being the log editor. And just about any other thing, he certainly ran the Hamfest with me. He'd come a little bit later, but he would take care of all the finances. He took care of the finances very well. And in fact, I point out that in order to replace Jerry, it really has taken 4 people to do the membership, the treasurer, what we do with the Hamfest and everything else. So he really was an invaluable.
Why? They said a chauffeur too.
Well, you mentioned my chauffeur, but, you know, they always kidding around that he needed a four-corner hat. You know, treasurer, membership, log, and driver you around. But once he started doing something, for example, I said to him, come and join HRU, the Emory University Committee. Now, what am I going to do there? I said, you'll be a part of it. It would be something for you to be doing. And so, sort of reluctantly, he joined, but then once he joined, he enjoyed it, and he took over doing their mailing list. and their mailing list had grown to a little over 1,200 members. Jerry Madison, he did something that was almost crazy. We have these cards that we use at our Hamfest and at HRU for door prizes, but people sign in, all sign in. It's not readable. You know, most people, I mean, the ham radio operator and his handwriting very often is not the best. But Jerry would sit there, it could be 300 cards, it could be 400 cards, and he would go through every one of those cards and match the email address to what was already on record. And that was really valuable to LIMARC because we use that for our Hamfest, very valuable to Ham Radio University. And then when he would go to Ham Radio University, he would always be there. He usually sat at the desk just to help them out, but he was always doing things for people. I got a call from a woman who wanted to get rid of her husband. He had a business of whatever it was, tubes or something, and he was in Queens. Jerry would leave school. He taught at Martin Luther King, which was opposite Lincoln Center. And he would drive from there, might be school 3:30, 4 o'clock, drive into Queens, pick the things up and bring them to my house, and then we would do whatever we would do, sell them or give them away or whatever. No matter what you asked of him, there was never, ever too much for him. And that's a very unique characteristics of an individual. He never asked for anything in return. He just did it. And even in preparing for his passing, he said that he wanted everything in his ham radio equipment to go to LIMARC. So again, for me personally, I think the only thing that's made it a little bit easier, because again, you don't realize how tied in you are to a person until, unfortunately, they pass away. But he was so much a part of my life and even my family's life for such a long period of time. But he had certain rules. He did not eat in his car. That was only on one special occasion he let me eat in his car. And he said there better not be any crumbs on the floor. But you know, his favorite car was a Lexus, and so that's what he was driving for the 20 years that I knew him. Anyway, he was an integral part of LIMARC, an integral part of my life. He took care of people, and you know, he'd certainly be missed. But I started to say that the fact that over the last 2.5 years, I think I only saw him maybe 4 times, maybe 5 times, because of his hospitalization. And I have to say, he was, in certain ways, Jerry, what did the doctor say? I don't know. Well, Jerry, why don't you ask the doctor? Well, he's the doctor. Well, that's not enough, Jerry. What medication are you on? I don't know. He gives me the medication. I take the medication. Well, don't you want to know if there's any side? I'm like, right on.
I was in the emergency room. He wouldn't ask a question. I'm interrogating the doctor.
I have to say, when Jerry first had his stroke,
Okay.
when Jerry first had his stroke 2.5 years ago, in some ways, it was very fortunate that he called me in the morning. I knew something was wrong, and I called for an ambulance to come get him. And he was lucid enough. I said, Jerry, take the keys, you lock the door, wait for them to come. He did. But now he's in the hospital. There's no family member. Lee's in Florida. His other friends just couldn't get there quickly. So my next phone call is Martin. You live closest to Jerry. Got to get to the hospital.
I'm in the emergency room and he's just not talking to the doctor, and I'm like asking up and down what's going on, and I stayed with him until they finally got him into a room. And then I was there another day where he was going for tests, and I went with him with the tests in the hospital. He wasn't an advocate for himself, unfortunately, but I was happy that I could be there to advocate for him.
And sometimes we relate Jerry to a friend that I talked with. He was actually drafted in the Army. He was sent down to Lower Manhattan, the induction center. And when they did the blood test, it showed very high albumin. They said, well, we can't take you in with high albumin. We're going to put you in a hospital overnight. We'll test you again in the morning. In the morning, they came in and said, what do you want for breakfast? He said, eggs. They gave him eggs. Needless to say, he never got drafted. Jerry would say, they brought in the food. What did they bring in, Jerry? Well, they brought in regular Jell-O, they brought in ice cream, they brought in a sandwich. Jerry, aren't you diabetic? Yes. Well, don't you think you should say to them, I'm diabetic, what are you bringing me? Ah, just bringing me whatever they're gonna bring me. You never liked the food, by the way. But that's the kind of thing. In part, it was because he just didn't want to challenge anybody. You know, I don't remember really ever challenging anybody. Although I have to say, if he sent out our notices when dues were past due, we would have lost half our members. Because he was so concerned about the money, he called them a nasty gram. He said, should I send my nasty gram? I said, no, Jerry, we need our membership. But, you know, Jerry, what did the nurse say to you? She didn't say anything. Well, why did you ask her? You know, why is this? Why? I don't want to bother her. And so that's the way he went through almost 2.5 years of hospitalization, rehab, and living with me for a number of months. In any event, as I say, it's something that was very much a part of my life. He was as good as gold to me. Whatever I needed, he was always there. From putting up antennas, I asked him if he could climb the roof and help me put up an antenna. He drew the line there. He said, I put one step on the ladder, and that's the extent of my being up on a roof. But anything, again, that anybody needed, sometimes when you look at the pictures, you can see his involvement. We relied on Jerry to put together the beams for our field day. We relied on Jerry to pick up the bagels for us in the morning so that we were all nourished as we went through the rest of the day. It just became commonplace. Jerry, can you do this? Jerry, can you do that? And it wasn't an attempt in any way to abuse or take advantage of. He enjoyed doing it. He enjoyed doing whatever he could to help people. And I have to say that so much that I've been able to do myself for the club over the last 20 years was only because Jerry was there to help me. And again, I point out for all of you, if you're a hair radio operator, you're sitting with your equipment, what happens if something happens to you? Did your family know what to do? Well, in one case, the family didn't know what to do. And they asked us if we would take the equipment. And Jerry and I went out there and looked and said, it's not a matter of taking it. We'll sell it for you. And we raised $25,000 for that family. Between Jerry and I, done in terms of selling equipment for families so that nobody took advantage of them, so they got as much money as they possibly could, returned more than $100,000 to families. 2 families alone, 8 of these families, Jerry was, others helped, but Jerry was very instrumental in doing the inventory, hoping to get rid of equipment. And that's the kind of person that he was. So there's a lot of people that aren't living in this area, or people that we helped, and they stayed very appreciative of everything that we did. And when I notified them, they were shocked. And they just were so sad because they just knew how much Jerry had done to help them. And the other thing is, you never hear a bad word. You never hear anybody say anything but Jerry was really a good guy. And he was. And people would say to me, people spoke about the invention. They'd say what a great pleasure it was to talk to him. Of course, you had to talk to his left ear, not to his right ear. But everybody had everything good to say about Jerry. And so I guess our hope is that as this recording is made, and for all of you that are here, we appreciate you being here, that we will remember Jerry. The poem that I put up there, some of you may be familiar with, it's called The Dash. And I have officiated sometimes in funerals of friends and family. And it's really my favorite thing because you go to a cemetery and what do you see? You see 1947-2026 in this case. And there's, maybe it says father, grandfather, son, brother, etc. But it doesn't really say something about their lives. And our hope here was with our plaques, with our certificates, with our pictures, that we fill in that dash a little bit. And that when we think of Jerry, because again, there's no tombstones, there's no permanent memorial to Jerry. Maybe we'll have a page up for him as we have for Dave K2RW and Eric K3EJ, who was so important to LIMARC. But we hope that we filled in that dash and you can understand Jerry was really a good guy. Sad that he had to die alone, no family immediately with him, but a lot of friends, a lot of people who cared about him. and the fact that he cared about a lot of people. So, is there anyone that would like to make any final comments? So, I guess with that, we would say thank you for being here. Jerry would be proud as he'd stay within the budget there. He would yell at me, you spend too much money, why are you feeding the people? I say, Jerry, we have to feed people, you know. But on the other hand, we brought our budget down a lot to Jerry's help in doing what has to be done, which is very often controlling me. You say, you just said, let's save money, and there you are going and spending a lot of money. So it is what it is.
His favorite store was the dollar store. Besides, you need or the dollar store.
Coupon.
Coupons, Lee?
Yep, he would go and say again for Harbor Freight. He would collect a coupon for Harbor Freight and get like 20 different flashlights, screwdrivers, and just throw smile. He, he constantly.
All the things that when Harbor Freight was giving them out free, the meters and so forth, we get at least monthly from Micro Center, get a free 128 gigabyte stick, bring a friend, give him a 32 gig. We were doing that so many times, right? So he must have had so many of those things. So, but Unique, he couldn't go into Unique and buy something. So ironically, the pictures on the board there in 4x6s was a package of 4x6s that came from Unique. I don't know what color label was on it, but Unique has it where it's marked, let's say $5, but if it's a blue label up there, it's half price. If it's a yellow label, it's $3/4. So he must have picked it up for like 75 cents. And ironically, the pictures that I printed there are from his 75-cent half of 100 4x6 photo paper.
That's good.
Which is probably $15 or $20 for sure. So, all right. Any comments? Anything you'd like to say about Jeremy? So again, we do appreciate you being here, and just always remember Jerry and fill in that dash. He certainly was worthwhile having as a friend. Okay, thank you.
And next
Please
time,
finish the cake, or say that would be wasteful.
Richie, just next month's activities. Oh.
Thank you. Jerry was just a truly amazing man. And I guess I have the role of describing what's coming up next. And next month, we're going to have the field day meeting. That's right, all the grits and glory of Siemens Neck Park. Mosquito swatting, the
Goose poop.
the goose step is what I do.
The goose missed them.
Yeah, well, anyway, we're looking forward to it. Everybody is invited. We're gonna have a go-to station for anybody that's not licensed yet. You can see what it's all about and experience it live and in person. Last year we had a young lady named Sarah, and she made her first contact over the air, and you just should have seen the face. It was worth the price of admission. And Larry had a set of antlers that nobody knows about. Oh, man. And that was exciting too.
thanks to Photoshop, I got rid of them.
Yeah, thank you. Any event, we all had a great time. So looking forward to the field day meeting, and that'll be in June.
Okay, and I just want to say, we thought we had the scholarship, and we thought that our winner would be here tonight, but maybe because it's the memorial, we chose not to. And the prize is $200. So our winner is Devin Matthews, KD2HOU. But that would have been the kind of thing that Jerry would have said, that's great, we have a youngster involved in amateur radio, but we're giving him a $200 certificate. That's a lot of money. Well, anyway, that's what you might have seen it. Okay, with that, appreciate your help and putting tables away, chairs away, and have a